Okay, hello, welcome in everybody. Glad you are with us here today. It is a Wednesday with Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Barry McKnight going to be here with us in just, well, boom, you call his name and he pops up. Look at that. That's the miracle of the internet. What's happening today?
I don't know. I was all of a sudden ready to go, and I popped off like 1 second left on the timer. But I'm here. We're ready.
Yes.
And we've got a lot of guests today, a lot of people that I'm looking forward to on the program today. For some reason, the last couple of days, we have been talking more about the NBA than we have had in a long time. And why not? You know, you've got the NBA Finals, Game 7, which was highly watched. The entire series, not so much, but Game 7 surely was. Pacers star.
Wow, Barry popped off again. Yeah, he was talking about some of our guests and talking about Therese Halliburton, who, of course, was injured in Game 7 and did not play the remainder after that injury. Brent Vincent from Phoenix Rehab, our good friends there that join us throughout the year. Brent's going to join us to talk about that injury and the rehabilitation of an injury of that magnitude later. Actually, the bottom of this hour.
Yeah.
So, you were talking about that bad injury to Halliburton. And I'm looking forward to seeing what Brent has to say about that today on the show, because there again, I've never experienced an injury of that severity. It certainly looked extremely painful. And we're going to get kind of the bottom of that with Brent to see really what that injury is all about and how you go about there again, getting back in the game, which I know that's something he is certainly hoping to do on a timely manner as quick as possible, I would imagine. Also, CJ Duncan at the top of the 8 o'clock hour will join us here today. Always enjoy what CJ has to bring to the program. From Yellowhammer News, of course, former player at Vanderbilt in the SEC. So CJ comes with a lot of experience and certainly looking forward to hearing what he has to say as well. And Josh Harris, normally on Mondays, the money line manager, Josh will join us at the bottom of hour number 2 today. So, a lot going on with our guest lineup today.
All right, we got to get to. There's evidently like a squirrel messing around with my internet cable or something outside. Hopefully this will.
Wow, just as you said it, hopefully. And that squirrel is chomping away, if I got to remember. So we'll get that squared away with Barry, not a problem there. Of course, our River Region Straw chat line is up and running as it does each and every day. Hey, Bill from Baltimore chiming in about the Braves. I didn't even check the scores yet, Bill. I did check one in particular. We'll get to that later in the program. But I'm taking it the Braves did win yesterday. Did they? Maybe I guess I could check that while we're as we're here, Bill. I think you're teasing me, and I'm curious to 7-4. Look at that. Beat the Mets 7-4. I believe that's the second straight win for the Braves against the Mets, if I'm not mistaken. So good for them. Way to go, Braves. I appreciate you pointing that out, Bill, because I'm not sure I would have gone to that this early in the program. Theodis, thanks to you. Good morning as well. We appreciate that. Glad to get your input today as well. Bill, a random question. Bill from Baltimore. Any interest in the NBA draft tonight? Washington Wizards have a little buzz with Ace Bailey maybe falling to them. Bill, I got to tell you, I'm looking to see where Janai Broom's going to fall. Obviously, a lot of interest in him from his days at Auburn. The flag from Duke, I'm hearing a lot of buzz about him. He's certainly in a lot of the NBA draft previews that I've seen hyping up the draft. I'm looking forward to all that kind of stuff. But we'll see. We'll see where this all plays out. Theota says Broom's draft stock has really dropped. I've heard some buzz about that too. That's why I'm interested, Theotis, to see where he's going to land and where he'll fall in this draft, because I thought that was, the player he was at Auburn, and to hear the stories and the rumors that he possibly might be dropping a little bit, I thought was, don't know really about that. But we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. I am interested in several things. And I'm hoping that Barry can get reconnected, because I really don't want to start it until he is able to get back on with us here this morning. But a lot of this time of year, there's a lot of talk about, obviously, the upcoming season. People are interested in, where their team's going to be in preseason polls and things of that nature. You've heard Barry and I talk about this many times. At SEC meetings that are coming up in less than a month, I guess, they are going to distribute a ballot for all the media members that are in attendance. And I say that loosely because I'm not sure really how many true media members that are actually there. I know there's a lot of them, but they're going to tell you there's over 1,000 credentialed media people there at media days. And the definition of a media member must be very broad. But anyway, they distribute this ballot, and they want the media to vote on who they think the best teams are in the upcoming season. Kind of have a preseason ranking, if you will. I've always wondered why they want the media to make the news. And that's not really our business, our deal. I don't participate in it. I know Barry doesn't either. Every time I've looked at it, there's been less than 100 media members that have gotten in on it. So, I know there's a lot of buzz about that, but people are getting to that point in the summer where how's our team going to do? How are we going to be? Blah, blah, blah. A lot of stories from media members out there about teams and coaches and things like that. And Barry, something came across, I would say came across my desk, but people don't say that anymore. It's kind of like, going to your Rolodex to find a phone number. People don't use Rolodexes anymore because their phone contacts are, well, in their phone. And they don't need to flip through like in the old days to find somebody's phone number. So nothing really comes across your desk anymore. It's just an old saying that we've heard for years about, well, this came across my desk today, but something did come across my phone. Several things came across my phone. And I found them very interesting. And there again, I really want to tap the brakes here just a minute, because I certainly want Barry to obviously comment on this and be a part of what we're doing. So I will hold off on that for just a moment. I will share this with you. I had a flashback moment yesterday. One of those kind of, I wouldn't call it unpleasant, because it just, a flashback moment lasts, well, there again, a moment, not very long. But it did kind of, send a little shockwave through me as I heard a video or saw a video clip of President Trump yesterday before he boarded Marine One, being interviewed by some media members. And towards the end, he made a statement that really, there again, just kind of shocked me there for a moment. And it kind of, it kind of reminded me of two-a-day football practice in August, hot and humid, and a football coach screaming at me something to the effect, "Longshore, you don't know what the effing you're doing," as the president did yesterday. talking about Iran and Israel. I think his quote was, "They don't know what the blank they're doing." And basically that's what I was told probably more than once during a preseason practice in high school football. And it kind of hit me yesterday. I went, whoa, geez, I've heard that before. Now, I didn't argue and didn't give them some look like, what do you mean I don't know what I'm doing? Because they were probably right. I probably didn't. But to hear the commander-in-chief say that yesterday, it did kind of jolt me a bit that, man, I think I've heard that before aimed at me. But I wondered what the country thought about that. I'm sure there's a lot of people, and I get it. The president shouldn't be speaking in that manner. But obviously he was not happy about what had happened. And it has been a tense situation, to say the least, with what happened over the last several days. But I did think that was an interesting comment from the commander-in-chief. And there again, it kind of gave me one of those flashback moments of, man, I've had that directed at me before. Obviously, that was in a much broader fashion. But man, that one kind of got me for a second, kind of stunned me for a nanosecond. I see Barry in the window down there. I think he might have his connection back ready to go. We're going to pull him up and see what we got going here. Yep, I think he's good. He's giving me the thumbs up. There he is. There he is.
There's always a way. I'm not sure what's going on, but I have switched my internet connection, and hopefully this will hold. Out in my front yard. That's my front yard is the yard on our street that has the big like transformer, on the telephone pole. That's up in my yard off in the corner. Maybe there's a dead squirrel out there or something like that.
Like Mr. Douglas did on Green Acres to make a phone call.
That was. We have done that type of thing before in our radio career, believe me. But this one seems to be firm, using a different internet supplier here. So, yeah.
So, Barry, I was explaining while you were away.
Yes.
Just quickly, just to catch you up, because there's one thing. I wanted to wait till you got your connection back to bring up the other thing, or several, but one of them in particular.
Okay.
I had a kind of flashback moment yesterday. One of those, whoa, geez. Wait a minute, that sounded eerily familiar. I think that was directed toward me at one point in time. When I first saw and heard the clip of the president showing his frustration. Oh, wow, we lost Barry again. What do you say we take a quick break? Let's do that. Let's take a quick time out and see if we can get this corrected here. I know there's a little issue that Barry's having with his internet. We'll get that squared away. We'll take a quick break. Got a lot going on today. Don't you go anywhere. Several guests coming up in about 15 minutes. Brent Vinson from Phoenix Rehabilitation, the Wetumpka office, will join us to talk about that terrible injury to Therese Halliburton in the NBA on Monday night. We'll get to that and more of Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Back with more right after this. July the 7th is your last chance to take advantage of below employee pricing. Save thousands until July 7th at Stivers Ford in Montgomery. Up to $19,000 off new 2024 F-150s. That's up to $11K below employee pricing. Up to $15,000 off new 2024 Expeditions. That's up to $9K below employee pricing. And up to $11,000 off new 2024 Broncos. That's up to $8K below employee pricing. Take advantage of these and so many more offers during this incredible tariff buster pricing sale going on until July 7th at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, 4000 Eastern Boulevard.
The following is a message from the Bud Light Party.
July 4th is the most demanding holiday of the year. Justine just wants a half. Alex needs a hot dog without a bun. And Rose says her homemade veggie burgers taste just like the real thing. So this July 4th, stock up on a sure thing. Bud Light. It's a 4th of July fixture everyone can agree to agree on. This message approved by the Bud Light Party. Raise one to right now. Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, AB, St. Louis, Missouri.
Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382, or find them on the web at 834hands.com. Okay, back at it here, about 16 minutes past the hour on this Wednesday with Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Hey, tomorrow we'll be at Montgomery Regional Airport. Looking forward to being out there with our friends at MGM, making it easier for all of your travels, getting better the more you use it. So we'll be there tomorrow. Looking forward to doing our broadcast there, as we do so many times. And then, of course, on Friday, we're at Stivers Ford here in Montgomery, where Price sells cars. If you just heard that that Stivers commercial that Gern played there just a moment ago, you heard right. You've got until July the 7th to take advantage of what we've been telling you about for so long, below employee pricing. It ends on July the 7th. So take advantage of the tariff-busting prices going on out at Stivers, like up to $19,000 off MSRP on new 2024 Ford F-150s. You heard me right, up to $19,000 off, plus 2.9% APR for 72 months. You're not going to find a better deal than that. They're also going to throw in no payments for 90 days. Folks, that's why Stivers sells trucks. Price sells cars. That actually is $11,000 below employee pricing. But these deals end on July the 7th. Great deals on the Super Duty model, the F-150 Lightning model, Ford Expedition at up to $15,000 off MSRP. That's $9,000 below employee pricing. The Ford Escapes up to $15,000 off. Great deals on the Broncos as well. Bronco Raptor up to $23,000 off. So you got some great deals going on during the Tariff Buster event at Stivers Ford in Montgomery. But below employee pricing ends on Monday, July the 7th. I cannot emphasize that enough. You need to make sure you get out to see our friends at Stivers before that day. That's a Monday, July the 7th, right after 4th of July. So close of business on July 7th. The below employee pricing event will be no more. So make sure you take advantage of that before it slips away. All right, let's get into it here today. As I mentioned, something came across my desk. I'll just say that, but it was my text hotline. I'd like to get some reaction on a couple of things. Number one, even though Auburn had 2 players decide to go elsewhere as of now, I see that Auburn landed a commitment from an offensive lineman, pretty big guy, 6'7", 370 pounds. He's from New Zealand. He ranks as the number 852nd player on the 24/7 Sports Composite Rankings and the number 72 offensive tackle. What really caught my attention, that this young man, his name is, I know I won't pronounce it, Nakia Hepi from New Zealand, has never played a snap of American football. Never played a snap of American football. but joined the NFL academy that works with international players to get them recruited by colleges, putting out highlight tape of him working out and running through football drills. Allegedly, other schools were in the mix, but his first offer came from Auburn, and that's now where he's headed, allegedly. How do we feel about that? There again, I'm no recruiter. I don't know anything really about the ups and downs, the inner workings of it. But I thought that was interesting, particularly at a time when Auburn has lost 2 commitments that people seem to be concerned about. I think there's a little concern about this young man. Never played American football. And of course, you've got people coming through the cracks, like state media, that I guess, I don't know, this time of year, you got to have something to write about. And they want to write about how much golf Hugh Freeze is playing. Now, yeah, I know they've had some big recruiting weekends, and, I don't know what goes on between sunup and sundown in a football building in the middle of June. But a reporter at AL.com went to the USGA website database. I've got the app on my phone, and found out that Hugh Freeze posted 10 scores in the first 20 days of June in the USGA database. Of course, that database tracks official handicaps. Of course, my question would be, did he pad those scores, or were those really the official scores that he shot playing these 10 rounds of golf? Allegedly, Freeze played 10 rounds in June and at least 20 since the start of 2025. I'm not sure I've played 25 rounds of golf since January 1st. I have to think about that one. I don't believe that I have. But that's what goes on this time of year. And I'm wondering, is it just this time of year, or is that really something to be concerned about? To get another angle on this, we bring in Gurn Sr., who normally has a level head in all matters. Gurn, I don't know if you heard my statements prior to your joining the program here. Auburn has gotten a commitment from a lineman from New Zealand that's never played American football. And it's being reported today at AL.com that Hugh Freeze has posted 10 scores on his USGA handicap in the month of June. And he's played 25 rounds of golf since the beginning of the year. I know it's a slow time in sports. I find that interesting to look in to a public site. I mean, you could go on the USGA site and look how many rounds I posted this year. Your thoughts on that?
Can you hear me okay? I just turned on the headphones. Yeah. Great. Look, talent is talent. Okay? Yeah. I wouldn't give the Aubs any grief for going out and get somebody. You can't coach size. Now, what other sports? My question would be, what other sports does he play? Does he play Australian rules football or whatever the equivalent is in New Zealand? Those guys are beasts. Yeah. Did you see the article about the Alabama commitment from California, wherever? He's the volleyball player.
Yes, and certainly Alabama's got a player from Norway.
6'7", 370 that can sky. Or 320. 6'7", 320 who can sky.
Yeah.
So an athlete's an athlete. You know, I mean, you got to go
Well,
find
hold
them.
on. Let me stop you there. I was an athlete. I would have, you know, you saw me play, you know, but I didn't have the game.
You know, but for some training in junior high school, you could have been. I mean, you really had the. I went back to the old Cloverdale scouting reports, and they said your upside was tremendous. I don't know what that means about your actual side, but your upside was tremendous, and you had some other athletes in your class that kind of continued on.
That's true.
And got better.
I think there's a little gray area in that statement, but I'll let you go with it. I'm reading the article here. I do not see any mention of him being, I don't know what's, maybe is Australian rules football popular in New Zealand as well? Those countries are very close to each other.
It could be rugby. Let's see. Here we go. I mean, we had Jesse Williams. That's right. Gurn Jr. pulls up the Bama. Jesse Williams. He's, you know, he was our guy.
Yeah.
Now,
I think the thing that disturbs me, though, is this young man has never played American football. Well, the article does tell us that.
Well, you know, like I said, you can't coach size and athleticism. So
exactly,
look, it's and now you've gone. I mean, it's not all right. I'd like to get more detail on this, but what I'm being told is, you know, walk-ons are not going to be. You're not going to have the same level of walk-ons anymore. You're going to have roster spots.
Yep.
Now you may have an unpaid roster spot, but other than that, we've got him back.
Yeah, and I've been so anxious to get his thoughts about this conversation. I don't know what to do. Kind of. So we just wiped Gurn Senior off the map there. Sorry, Gurn, you got kicked out.
I'm not sure what's going on. I hope you can hear me. I've got an entirely new computer.
Got it.
We're scrambling around here. Hopefully, I stick around for a little while. We'll see.
Here's where I know Brent Vincent's going to join us here in a moment, but we kind of got it started. From Trump's statement yesterday, where I was getting at with that, Barry, is when I heard it, I had kind of a heebie-jeebie moment going, whoa. And it reminded me of two-a-day practices in August with a coach screaming in my ear, Longshore, you don't know what the beep you're doing. And when I heard Trump say that yesterday, I went, wait a minute, I've heard that somewhere before.
I would have preferred it to be a little more statesman-like. I would prefer if he was more statesman-like, but you know, you think you got everybody on the same page, you think you got an agreement in good faith, and then all of a sudden, you know, and I don't disagree with the premise of it, because I'm not sure they do know what they're doing, but you know,
I get it.
The language was not exactly statesmanlike. You can go back, and I'm a history buff. You can go back to the Kennedy speech, Ich meine eine Berliner, or you know, ask not what you can do for your country, or Franklin Delano Roosevelt, you know, asking for a declaration of war and everything. I don't think any of that stuff ever came on any of their speeches as well, you know.
I think that might have been a first. I'm with you on that one.
You know, that bleeping Hitler, you know, we're gonna, you know, kick his bleep and all this kind of stuff. So, you know, this is we have become a little bit more desensitized to language, which is kind of a shame. But again, I got no problem at all with the logic behind the statement. I've got no problem at all with his read of the situation. It's just years from now when, you know, when we talk about great speeches in American history or great moments in American history, it'd be better just for posterity if you could have the president of the United States in an international flare-up where you don't have to bleep him out every now and again, you know?
Yeah, then I see him get off the plane yesterday in the Netherlands, and the first thing he does is put on a USA baseball hat as he comes down the steps to meet all the dignitaries waiting.
Oh, yeah, at the summit. Yeah.
So the next thing, and I know we'll get into this a little deeper. This came across, as I mentioned, my desk, but things don't come across your desk anymore. They just come across your phone, which this came from the River Region Straw VIP text hotline yesterday, where I see that Auburn picked up a commitment from a huge offensive lineman from, of all places, New Zealand, 6'7", 370 pounds. But what really caught my attention is he's never played a snap of American football. I wonder how that's going over in the Auburn camps.
Really, I would have thought that from the VIP line of your text hotline, normally in the past, somebody like Nikau Hapi, 6'7", 370, he's from New Zealand. I would have thought it would have been along the line of, so you're telling me, John, that this guy goes past Australia.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, depending on which way, you know, not past Australia, because it's east of Australia, past Hawaii, past California, past Texas, and just wants to go to Auburn? Reckon why? Now, I think this is a calculated risk. This kid never played a snap of American football, but joined the NFL Academy, which is a great thing. There have been a lot of players like that. It works with international players to get them recruited by colleges. He came to camp, I think, an Auburn camp. Auburn offered him, Florida State offered him, but he's coming to Auburn, never played a snap in a real football game. John, that's a calculated risk, obviously, but if you remember, and I know your memory is good when it comes to Auburn, over the last several years, they had offensive linemen who looked like they'd never taken a snap in a college football game. So what's the, what's the risk? You know, would you rather have a guy who literally has not ever taken a snap, or a guy who looks like he's never taken a snap in an American college football game?
I get it. The number 852nd ranked player on the list, I think he's in the high 70s somewhere in terms of linemen. One service actually has him at 66th. Is rated offensive tackle.
That is Nixian.
Yeah, 852nd rated player on 247's composite ranking.
Well, to be honest, how do you do that? How do you rank him 852nd? How do you rank him 52nd? How do you rank him 8th?
Yeah.
What are you looking at? He's never played, you know.
I don't know it. I guess.
What about, you know, how about rating me, you know? I mean, I haven't played a snap in a long time. You know, how does somebody say, how does number 853 feel, John? How does the 853rd player? Dude, I've been playing football my whole life. I've been a starter for 3 years on my high school team. I'm two-time honorable mention all-county.
Yeah.
And this guy who's never been in a stance and heard somebody say hike in his life, all of a sudden he's better than me. What am I doing here?
I'm with you. There again, wanting to know what some of the feedback is from the Auburn Nation. Certainly, I did check out Botagetta message board just to get a feel.
Of course you did.
Since I'm a premium member of that website, I would say there's a little confusion, frustration, anger, mixed in with an article at AL.com today about how many times Hugh Freeze has posted a score in his USGA handicap. Obviously, apparently, Freeze has played 10 rounds of golf in the month of June, 25 rounds since the beginning of the year. I don't think I've played 25 rounds of golf since January the 1st. I'm trying to think. I've played a lot of golf, but 25, maybe. I'm not a football coach.
That is very AL.com-esque, AL.comian. They send somebody out and say, hey, can you check and see how many scores Hugh has posted? And that's not counting, the scrambles that you got to play in,
Oh, yeah, forgot about that.
The Barber County Auburn Club or something like that. Their scramble out there in Clio. That's what they do. You used to have Benny Marshall,
yeah,
Alf Van Hoos,
sure,
Clyde Bolton,
yes,
Jimmy Bryan,
man,
Paul
Legends.
Davis, yeah, and now you got some guy saying, "Hey, this is so and so from AL.com. Is this the USGA? Yeah, how many scores has Hugh Freeze posted? It's talking season right now.
It is talking season.
They ought, instead of AL.com, they ought to call themselves lowhangingfruit.com.
Now,
what can we put out that requires no work whatsoever? Let's do that.
I wonder if those were the actual scores, not accusing Coach Freeze of doing anything, but I've known some people to kind of fudge a little bit on those scores to make sure that handicap stays where they want it to stay for like member guests and tournaments and scrambles and things of that nature. So I'm not accusing him of that, but just curious if those are really the 10 legitimate scores that he shot in the month of June. But as well as I do, you got a couple of high profile guys deciding to go elsewhere. And then they find out that the coach has been playing a lot of golf this month. That normally doesn't go over real well during talking season.
And this is probably also the reason why they offered that kid right now from New Zealand. They're saying, boys, we got to get somebody. Let's get a commitment. Do you know what people will think? 6'7", 370, you can't coach 6'7", 370.
Yeah.
He is a project. Don't look for him to be in the 2 deep this coming fall, or maybe even next fall or anything like that. But John, they had to have something positive on the ledger sheet. That's like going bogey, and then
double bogey.
Double bogey. Then all of a sudden, you play it. You're still playing it safe, and you're able to hit about a 20-footer for par, and you're like, hey man, I'll take it. I know I should have had a birdie, but I needed to get something.
Well, I don't want you to think that's the only Auburn news we have for you today. There's more, believe me. We're loaded up with it.
How many rounds of golf Hugh Freeze has played this year?
I don't think I played 25.
If that has led John's Auburn news cavalcade today, I'm not sure there is much news left. Surrounding Auburn. We'll see.
If there is something else coming, it's coming. I'm going to save that one for you in just a second. But hey, we got 2 berries now. Look at that.
Well, yeah, let's just leave that one. I'm just going to see if it holds. That's my regular.
But I do have more. But I'm trying to think. Have I played 25 rounds of golf in 2025?
I can guarantee you that I have not, because I've kept count of the number of rounds of golf I played in 0, not one.
I know I've played a lot of golf. I actually played some golf last week while I was away in Mexico.
How was the Mexican golf circuit? I've heard a lot about that.
Very nice. Guy. The course that I played was extremely nice. It was fun. It was cut through a kind of a jungle area, so it was kind of nice. I saw a wild pig run down the fairway. I saw a lot of other.
That's not very nice. Was it the bar car girl?
No, she was actually pretty nice. I think her name was Teresa, I believe. Anyway. Yeah. But yeah, we'll take a break. I know Britt Benson is scheduled to join us. He's having a little community connection issue. We're trying to get that worked out with Britt's at Phoenix Rehab in Wetumpka. So we'll try to get that worked out during the break. Want to get his thoughts about Therese Halliburton's injury. But it is a Wednesday with Longshore McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy.
In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Located just 8 miles north of Alabama's state capital, Capitol Hill features 3 18-hole championship courses. With more than 1,500 acres of golf and nature, the pure magnitude of this facility is amazing and allows each course to be drastically different from the others. Capitol Hill also features an innovative 360-degree driving range, 400 yards in diameter. Capitol Hill offers a fully stocked pro shop with the latest equipment and apparel. Great food and beverages in the clubhouse can be enjoyed both before and after your round. Get your group together and hit the trail. Go to rtjgolf.com/Capitol Hill for tee times and more information.
On the basketball court,
make
the
sure.
soccer pitch, or even the golf course, your crew brings their best, not just for the win, but for that post-game celebration. When victory tastes like Michelob Ultra, it's worth every drop of sweat. And if you don't win, you'll still get the beer. It's just on you. Superior is worth playing for. Michelob Ultra, 2.6 carbs, 95 calories. Superior light beer. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2025, Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Phoenix Physical Therapy is ready to help patients recover, recharge, and rise. They develop a customized therapy plan for each patient to get them back to enjoying their favorite activities. Their experienced team is committed to providing exceptional care in a professional environment. Whether you're looking to prevent or treat an injury, recover from a recent illness, or recuperate from surgery, schedule an appointment with our clinic and take advantage of our physical therapy, athletic training, workers' comp, and employer solutions service. Experience elevated physical therapy today. Call Phoenix Physical Therapy at 239-9316. That's 239-9316.
Back at it here on this Wednesday. Glad you're with us. Doing a little two things at one time, if you will.
Understand.
I know you're wondering what else could I be interested in with Auburn? I tell you, those first two were pretty good. I got to tell you, and you know, Barry, you know some of the people that are on the VIP River Region Straw text line. Things like this had my phone buzzing yesterday.
6'7", 370. Offensive lineman, never played a snap. Hugh Freeze, how much golf is he playing? I know a lot of coaches that play a lot of golf. Tuberville, good golfer. Duck Hunter, too.
Yes, he is.
Would it be easier for the Bama fans out there? Would it be easier to kind of gig the Aubs if he was out duck hunting instead of playing a lot of golf? Because goodness knows you ran Tuberville through the ringer. Saban was doing whatever.
Don't forget about Bowden going to the concert.
James Taylor concert. Yeah. Man, they have got the finger on the pulse beat of the Auburn nation. Is there a limit? How much is too much? If you look at it, 25 rounds of golf is right at about 4 rounds of golf a month, which is every weekend, right?
Pretty much.
In the off season.
And Barry, you got to throw in rainy days,
mm-hmm.
cold days. You're not going out there and playing golf when it's rainy and cold.
Bear in mind this, he had a longer off season than Kalen DeBoer did. True. He had a longer off season than Ryan Day did, or Kirby Smart did, or Marcus Freeman did. He had a little extra off-season time. So basically that translates out to 1 round a weekend. Is that too much? Is that not enough? Is it better to let off a little steam playing golf or have that corner spot at the bar at Arity's Angels?
Oh,
letting
wow.
off a little steam.
Wow, man.
Just I think 25 rounds of golf is about right. Man's got to have a hobby.
Yeah, and you know, Barry, guy plays that many rounds of golf. Maybe he mixed in a couple of extras and just didn't put the scores in the books.
Maybe he did. Maybe he did.
Maybe he had a good round and said, I ain't putting that one in. That'll hurt my handicap. Not going to do that.
I remember Ronald Reagan, Reagan always loved jelly beans.
Yeah.
Remember he always had, it was part of the rule around the White House is he always had a bowl of jelly beans on his desk at the Oval Office. Well, that got started because he was trying to give up smoking. This was many, many years ago. I mean, decades ago. And he just developed a taste for the jelly beans, and that helped him stop smoking. You had to replace the craving or the compulsion with something else. I don't know. You know what I would like to see? How many rounds of golf does it take in order to make up for the loss of a burner phone?
Well, of course, that was thrown in.
You've got to replace something with something else. Oh, believe me, I'm not sure John has ever had a text in the last 2 years from the members of the VIP line that mentioned Hugh Freeze without mentioning burner phone.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, Barry, because, that was mentioned in some of the texts that I received yesterday.
Yes.
Something about the burner phone, all that kind of good stuff. But, it just didn't, I don't know. And Theotis is wondering, a round of golf a week is an issue? Really? Well, Theotis, that leads me to my next area. This probably might be the most disturbing part of it all. Let me see if I can dig this back up. I think I got it right here. If your football coach is playing 25 rounds of golf since the beginning of the year, Barry calculated that's about one a week. I'm a big golfer. I have to get my wife to verify. I don't think I played 25 rounds of golf this year, and I'm a pretty big golfer. Went to California back in early this year, played a couple of rounds out there with some buddies, played here in Montgomery a couple of times, but I don't think I played 25 times.
Did you play in Atlanta?
I did. I did. That was in October. That was last year.
Okay, well, yeah, I know you play. I know you play in that event up in Atlanta every year. Okay, that's October. Okay, that's last year.
Yeah. Okay. This probably disturbed me more than anything. SEC winning percentage versus ranked opponents over the last 5 seasons.
Saw that. You saw that.
Well, no, somebody sent it to me. I mean, I didn't find it on my own.
You ain't always got to tell me that. You ain't always. I know you do that for posterity. You're like the defense attorney saying, I know you all know this, but let's enter in Exhibit C into the record. I just want to put it on the record. John, everybody knows that you. Do I even have to say it? John is not spending his time away from this program saying, okay, now 2023, where was he against ranked opponents? Okay. Okay. Now 2024. He ain't crunching the numbers on that. I can promise you.
So
somebody sent it to him.
Yeah. Somebody sent this to me, which I greatly appreciate. SEC winning percentage versus ranked opponents over the last 5 seasons. This comes on the right after a poll I saw, which program has the best winning percentage of football and basketball over a period of, I think the last 2 or 3 years. That was nationally. Right. That was a team that people are probably a little bit familiar with. But anyway, Alabama has the best winning percentage over ranked opponents over the last 5 seasons at 78.6%.
All right.
There are 16 teams in the SEC. Alabama's at the top, 78.6. Wins over ranked opponents last 5 seasons. Georgia's at second. Oklahoma's at third. That surprised me. Ole Miss is in fourth at 50%, exactly, as is Texas at 50%. Then Texas A&M, Kentucky, Tennessee, LSU, Missouri. I know you're kind of wondering, where are they? Mississippi State, South Carolina, Florida.
Oh, come
Arkansas. Then the Auburn Tigers at 12.5%, 2% higher than Vanderbilt at 10.5%.
That is something like 2 and something.
I think it's 3 and
three.
I think the 3 wins were against Texas A&M last year.
Kentucky. I know they beat Kentucky when they were ranked.
And I want to say Arkansas.
Or South Carolina. My guess would be Kentucky, South Carolina, and Texas A&M. And none of those were ranked in the top 10, is my point. Their record during that stretch against top 10 opponents, I don't know how many they played, but however many they played, that is on the right side of the win-loss column. It is 0 and whatever that number is.
And Barry, you know me. I hate to bring stuff like this up.
I know. It just goes against everything that you stand for and believe. I realize that.
But I just feel like, particularly this time of year and when something like this pops up, my first thought was, is Auburn really a top football program? I mean, Andy kind of touched on it earlier this week that they really got to turn things around. Baseball, basketball, men's golf, whatever, they're doing great. Yeah. But we all know it revolves around what happens inside Jordan-Hare Stadium or in Waco, Texas, in week 1 of this year. That's what's got to turn around. But in 5 years, is Auburn a top 40 program? I mean, Philip can write about all the history he wants to.
Yeah, and John will read every bit of it.
And all the days going by of all that kind of business. But, man, that kind of hit me there.
That's not good.
So Tobias, not Tobias, so Theotis, I don't think your football coach needs to be out playing 25 rounds of golf.
He needs to be beating ranked teams. That's why every time I bring up something to John, Saban was doing this. Saban's won natties. So, so we excuse him for that. It's not the behavior. It's the fact that whatever John scolds him about or points out about, if he won natties, it would all go away,
Yeah, and I see Curtis working here.
Why the last 5 years? Yeah. You want to throw out stats on Auburn, the worst 3 years in history? Go back to previous 5 years and go back to the next 5 years. Numbers are for losers.
Let's just go back to the 80s with Pat Dye if you want to, Curtis. I mean, look, I didn't come up with this. I'm just reporting on what somebody else came up with, and that is current day. We're talking about the most current.
He ain't even been there 5 years.
Yeah, the most current run in Auburn football might be their worst. I don't know. Was Barfield any worse than this? I don't know. But
Barfield took over a better situation than Freeze did.
Now there's a positive. Yeah. You're right. At least we had that working for us. At least he, Freeze took over a train wreck, if you will. But there again, I mean, the lineman from New Zealand that's never played a snap of American football, Freeze posting 10 rounds of golf in the month of June, and we're only at the 25th day of the month. And then the last 5 years, their winning percentage against ranked opponents is one better than Vanderbilt out of 16 teams in this league.
Are those all connected? Are those all part of a standard thread about, Auburn? Auburn. They're recruiting, they're offering guys who have never played. I'm not even talking about for Gaffer's or for, what is it, Barber's Dairy. What's the name of the dairy?
Back in my day, it was Hall Brothers and Barber's Milk, Foremost.
Even those guys, even those kids have played a snap of American football before. Of course, they don't have, they're wearing Fruit of the Looms underneath their pants, and they got their helmets jostling around because they don't fit, but at least they played, Well,
there again, I debated whether bringing any of this up today.
Sure, I know.
I thought
and that quarter of a second, it was really heartfelt. That moment that reminds you of the song "Parents Don't Understand." Should I? Well, of course I will.
Yeah. So I just felt like it was my duty. I felt like I would be cheating our viewing and listening audience.
Owed it to you.
Yeah. And I'm not, this is something, obviously not to be proud of. I certainly understand.
Right.
But I don't know what shocks me more. I really don't. Of those three stories we've touched on today.
Yeah.
A commitment from New Zealand that's never played a snap of football. Your head coach who's played 25 rounds of golf this year, 10 of them in the month of June.
Thank you so much, AL.com. Thank you. I really appreciate your stellar work.
Now, listen, Barry, the days are long.
Gordon Bernstein-esque piece here.
And let me just point this out. The days are long. He could have gone out early in the morning or late in the afternoon, zipped around, played 18 in no time. If he's playing a one-some, man, he could get that in less than 3 hours if he hustled.
Does that count the Goofy Golf Course on Beale Parkway in Fort Walton?
No.
We were in Fort Walton last weekend, and Dee and I were driving down whatever the main stretch is off of 98, and we went right by Robinson's Cruise Throw. And I said,
"Oh, loved it.
That place is still open." She says, "What's Robinson's Cruise Throw?" I said, "Oh, only the greatest place in the history of Northwest Florida. Are you kidding me?"
I don't know.
Destin, they need to have SEC media days at Robinson. The SEC spring meetings.
Sure.
Forget about Miramar Beach. They need to have it over there at Robinson's Cruise Throw.
Yeah, but
there's been a lot of negotiations that took place. At Robinson's Cruise Throw. Yes.
I don't know if Freeze plays his golf in Auburn, like at the AU Club or at Moore's Mill. I would think he's playing probably at Wicker Point up at the lake because I know he's got a place up there, but I don't know how far that is from Auburn. Maybe he's driving over there to play. Who knows? I wish the reporter that broke the news about how many rounds of golf Freeze has played
broke the news
and also told us where those rounds were played, because that information should be available as well.
Indian Pines, Pin Oaks, Saugahatchee.
Now, look, I will say this, Barry. A guy that plays 25 rounds of golf and 10 rounds in the month of June is going to need to go to Phoenix Rehab to get something worked out. Back's going to be hurting, shoulders out of whack, something. And our man Brent Vinson joining us here from Phoenix Rehab in Wetumpka. First of all, welcome to the show, Brent. Thank you so much for joining us. Do you work on people that play extreme amounts of golf in short periods of time?
Yes. Oftentimes when the weather's right, when you're dodging rain clouds, if you can squeeze in, like you said, John, you can play a one-some and get it done in 3 hours in the morning time. That's the best time, because at 4 o'clock, from 4 to 7, 4 to 8, it's raining. So you got to squeeze in when you can squeeze in. So we get some guys and some ladies that come in here who said, "Hey, I know you're going to hate me, but I played, 5 rounds of golf in the last 4 days, so it's one of those things."
Do you're up at Wetumpka? Brent's a clinic director and physical therapist at Phoenix Physical Therapy in the Wetumpka location. What's going on? What largely is your customer flow dealing with in the middle of the summer?
Well, right now we're seeing a lot of athletes who are having surgery, post school seasons, because they finally have time to breathe for a second and kind of recover and have time to be out of that grind. We're seeing post-operative athletes, just your normal, just wear and tear. Several folks who have gotten injured, gardening, tending the gardens, doing some yard work, planting. This, post-spring when they're kind of, getting their spring stuff in the ground, and now they're actually tending to things in the yard and cutting grass and all that stuff. Just minor, aches, strains, normal things that happen all year long. But this time of year, we see some things that are more seasonal specific to that.
I would bet so. And before we get into really what we wanted, the meat of the matter, what about this time of year when it's hot, just conditioning your body to get ready for these preseason football camps that are coming up in August before the season starts? I know you guys are going to be so busy with high school football when the season kicks off, but Brent, I got to think, just getting ready, prepared to be outdoors in this extreme heat and humidity when they're out there in shorts and helmets and then put the full pads on.
Yeah, this time of year, education, educating, coaches kind of, but it never hurts to our athletic trainers who are doing their boots on the ground. They're providing care at the schools every single day. They're, monitoring workouts for the most part. They're checking on athletes daily to make sure that those little heat-related illnesses and issues are kind of being addressed. Unfortunately, this time of year, sports never stop. So they give them about 2 weeks off, and then volleyball's kicking off, football's kicking off. They're doing 7-on-7s, and they're working out and conditioning in the heat. And so, school workouts are getting these athletes ready for seasons, even though their season may be in the spring or winter. They're prepping now. So just making sure hydration, making sure they're getting supplementation when it regards to minerals and electrolytes. Those are huge. Avoiding all those sugars, because sugars are just bad for inflammation. And so if we can kind of keep that process from an intake standpoint while they're outputting on the fields, it keeps them healthy and avoids those injuries in the future.
So sugars, obviously, they're bad for you anyway. But if you're dealing with inflammation, it could make it worse. You eat a candy bar and it doesn't help your joints.
Well, yeah, it's, inflammation and sugar go kind of hand in hand. So like inflammation breeds on sugar, like, your inflammatory process. So athletes, like energy drinks and things like that, even your hydration things like your main, Gatorade, Powerade, all those things. I mean, they're great for electrolyte recovery, but they also have a ton of sugar. And so you want to make sure you're, balancing out that, electrolyte input either through, straight magnesium, potassium, sodium, but avoiding the sugar part as much as you can. Now, obviously you can't avoid that all the time because it's provided by the school and it's provided at home. But you want to make sure you're not just drinking a ton of those, replenishment drinks have a bunch of sugar along with the electrolyte benefit.
Now, Brent Vincent is with us, Phoenix Physical Therapy. I know that you, and I'm not asking you this, I know you don't have the clinical readouts of Tyrese Halliburton for the Indiana Pacers. I'm just asking you for an opinion on somebody who's suffering. Famously, early in the NBA Finals, he had a calf strain, and he had to leave one of the games, and he was way less than 100% for the next game. And then he tears his Achilles in the first quarter of Game 7, looking at a long rehab. Are those two phenomena connected? Is it possible that the strained calf may have at least partially led to the Achilles tear?
I mean, it logically, you'd probably say yes, and I think probably there was definitely some probably correlation between that, because obviously it was a, similar injury, same general area, whether it be a calf or a quad or a hamstring, even honestly, sometimes an injury to the other side, the uninvolved leg. You could say, hey, maybe he was compensating or planting off that leg a little bit more, but, more than likely at this point in the season, I would say probably 75% of those athletes have micro injuries at this point in the stage. They're just working through. So all it's is just unfortunate, the angle of pressure when he pushed off that leg. You see that a lot in those explosive athletic activities. But But it's you probably say, well, it probably not 1 + 1 = 2, but it probably helped or contributed to that area being a little bit weakened. And just unfortunate for a great athlete to get hurt early in a game that he was playing so well.
I know your expertise is in the in the rehab part of it, but I'm just interested maybe what the surgical procedure was like, and then what will his rehab be like to get an injury like that back to where he can play at an NBA level again.
Yeah, and so that's the really neat thing about his injury, but also his surgical intervention on the front end was nowadays with tendon repairs, particularly there's the advancements in being able to suture tissue together, but also re-anchor tissue to bony landmarks that those tissues attach to. So when you have an injury like Achilles in a very dynamic athlete, but also a very powerful muscle, the ability to suture that tissue together and reattach it in a way that allows him to have a positive outcome, but also they kind of different techniques that they can do to promote tissue healing on the backside, either through PRP, through some biologics they can kind of inject in that tissue, or even some patches. I'm not sure exactly, like from an op note standpoint, what it looked like surgically, but nowadays from a surgical standpoint, the recovery process, now versus 10 years ago or even 20 years ago is crazy. It used to be, it was super conservative early on. You were immobilized like crazy, minimal weight bearing right out of the gate, a ton of swelling because it's the where it was in the body. Nowadays, probably less swelling, less still weight bearing precautions, but obviously they're able to work on that process of recovery a lot quicker. From a rehab standpoint, I can kind of speak to that a little more, assuredly. He's obviously starting today. He's rehabbing. Well, even post-surgical, he was probably getting some rehab right away. Working on swelling control, working on inflammation, working on working on the areas he could work on: his quads, his hamstrings, his hips, his toes, areas you could work on that promote blood flow to the area, but don't strain that surgically repaired tissue. So, he's starting he's even doing upper body workout probably, over the next couple of days just to get the body moving, help with blood flow, help with respiration, the oxygen input helps with healing of the body. Mm-hmm. So all those things are being done out the gate. And because, he's a professional athlete, his job is to rehab. And so he's probably, rehab, go get lunch, rehab, go get dinner. So it's one of those things that you or I don't have the benefit of because we got to go to work. We got jobs. We got families that are, needing us to do things. Those guys, they may have families, but their job is to get better and play on that court. So
I can reach down, and I'm sure a lot of people can reach down and identify and pinch my Achilles tendon. I know where it is. Everybody knows where it is. What's it responsible for? What's its service?
Well, obviously, your calf muscle group, there's several muscles that are in that calf group. You have your big muscle that you can kind of feel up high by your knee. That's your gastrocnemius. Down a little lower, about halfway down, it kind of branches off. There's a little where it starts to narrow down. That's where your soleus muscle, those two muscles kind of form your Achilles tendon. You also have other muscles in the calf that you can injure. Your posterior tibialis that runs around the backside of the ankle. There's a couple other small muscles that don't do a lot, but like you said, Barry, your Achilles or those muscles in the back of the leg, their primary role is to sort of plantar flex the foot, push the toes down. There's also some toe flexors, like when you bend your toes, those muscles run up there too, but those aren't the same tendons. So when somebody tears an Achilles or strains an Achilles area, it could be the Achilles tendon directly where the tendon is, but even a little higher up where things kind of narrow down from muscle. So oftentimes the Achilles doesn't just tear off the bone. Sometimes it does. A lot of times it'll tear in the middle, like right where, kind of halfway or about 2/3 of the way down. And that's where they have to sort of suture it together versus off the actual.
Ooh, that just sounds painful thinking about it. Oh man, that just sounds really, really tough.
So,
just hearing you describe it, I'm thinking, well, hopefully a quick rehab. I'm sure he hopes so. I'm sure the Pacers do as well. That was such a tough injury to watch live as it happened in the game. Game 7. I mean, people are kind of wondering if he's in the game, did the Thunder end up winning it? Probably, but maybe not by as wide of a margin. I don't know. And this guy was a huge difference maker. I enjoyed watching him throughout the season, particularly during the playoffs. And, man, to see it happen at that moment was, that was tough.
And it was the most high visibility injury at a high visibility time. But I'm reading things post-finals that evidently, Brent, there have been a boatload of Achilles injuries in the NBA this year or in the last couple of years. They're bigger. You mentioned already the explosiveness that you have to possess in order to play in that league. You're big. You're bulky in a lot of cases. Is it possible that the human frame can only accommodate so much, and the modern day athlete is stretching the ability of the frame and the musculature to pretty much its ultimate point, its breaking point?
I think probably, maybe. I think so. I mean, I think it's not for certain to say that, but I definitely think that, just with the size and the dynamic, and this, honestly, just the way the style of the game is now. It's such a up and down pace. And you have guys that are 6'8", 6'10", running point, and so they're pivoting, they're cutting. Now, obviously, the physicality of the game, you're banging and elbowing, that's kind of slowed down, but just that change of pace, and just the style, everybody's one-on-one now, so you're out there on the point, and you're kind of doing your thing, and you're having to put a move on a guy, and he's just as good as you are, and so it's one of those dynamic things where used to be you had guys set picks and doing all, you had help on your other side. Now it's one-on-one a lot, and so you're pushing off and you're exploding, trying to get past the guy who's equally as good as you. And so the athleticism on both sides of the game has, I think, created some issues because of the athlete size, just like in football and just like in other sports. I mean, you got big men and athletic ladies just propelling through space at a speed we've never seen before. Right. And eventually it'll tap out. You're not going to get much. You can't get but so fast. It's like cars can't go but so fast safely. But I think you're seeing a lot of those injuries because, these guys have been playing since they were 5 years old. So there's a lot of wear on the tires over time. And so it's probably just, maybe a correlation. I mean, they're training like they never trained before. So it's not a matter of lack of preparation. It's just unfortunate that the game is what the game is now.
Boy, it is. It's amazing. As big and fast as these guys are. We see it in football. We see it in basketball, baseball, all sports. Just gotten so big and fast that these injuries sometimes are even magnified more than we've ever seen before. Brent, man, we appreciate you hopping on with us here today. I always love to get back in touch with you before football season starts, and we get on that weekly rotation talking about rehabilitation of sport injuries and things of that nature. Let our viewers and listeners know if they have any needs for what you do there at Phoenix Physical Therapy, that they can get in touch with you at your Wetumpka location or any location that Phoenix Physical Therapy has throughout the river region.
Definitely. We love taking care of the communities that we service. It's a blessing and a privilege for us to be in those communities. My office here in Wetumpka is always available. Even if you don't live in Wetumpka, you can contact our office.
Well, I think
So making sure you contact our area clinic, touch base with our providers there. We'd love to be a resource for you. And we definitely love being a part of this show and a part of the process here in Central Alabama.
Well, we love it as well, Brent. Thanks so much for the time and for the expertise. It means a lot.
Oh, I appreciate y'all always, man. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy. We'll talk again soon. Brent Vincent, Phoenix Physical Therapy, joining us here on the show. Barry, when we get back from a quick timeout, our man CJ Duncan is in the green room from YellowHammerNews.com. We're going to chat with CJ, of course, Josh Harris, the Moneyline Magician, at the bottom of this hour as well. John, the golf course you're asking about on the chat line The old course behind service merchandise was in the neighborhood known as Elmsmead. It was called Colonial Acres. So I wanted to answer that one for you. I don't know if Hugh Freeze has played that course, John. Don't know.
I actually got lost in Elmsmead one time. We used to have a caller named Ernie from Elmsmead, as a matter of fact.
We certainly did. That's right. Yep.
Well, let's take a break. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Known by avid golfers as one of the most beautiful and challenging stops on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail, Cambrian Ridge in Greenville lies just 40 miles from Montgomery. It is well worth the ride for any golfer looking for 27 holes of jaw-dropping golf. The greens have been redesigned to accommodate the higher green speeds associated with their installation of the latest generation of ultra-dwarf Bermuda grass. Cambrian Ridge offers a fully stocked pro shop with all the latest equipment and apparel. Great food and beverages in the clubhouse can be enjoyed both before and after your round. Get your group together and hit the trail. Go to rtjgolf.com/Cambrian Ridge for tee times and more information.
It doesn't matter if you're running drills at the park, playing pickup on a Saturday, or sinking the final putt. When you compete with your friends with Michelob Ultra on the line, competition isn't that friendly. The trash talk, next level, and the stakes, oh, those are crystal clear. With only 95 calories and superior smooth taste, it's the ultimate trophy. Superior is worth playing for. Michelob Ultra, superior light beer. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2025, Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
You're not buying sticks, stems, and pine cones. You're buying premium long-diddle pine straw from River Region Straw. Kenny and his staff have access to the best pine straw in the River region, full of color that will last all season long. Kenny has locations in Montgomery, Prattville, and Auburn, and no order is too big or too small, from a few bales to an 18-wheeler trailer load. Pickup is available, or your order can be delivered. They can even spread your pine straw if you like. So call or text Kenny today, 669-5959. That's 669-5959 for all of your pine straw needs. Okay, back at it, about 17 minutes past the hour. Quickly before we get to C.J. Duncan, Yellowhammer News, former player at Vanderbilt. Barry, let's quickly release the Phantoms Daily Dog. Yesterday, I did check the score at the top of the 8th inning. The Tampa Bay Rays had a 4-0 lead over the Kansas City Royals. I felt like this is in the bag. It was. Chalked up another run. Let the Royals score two. 5-1 was the final for a big win for the Phantoms Daily Dog yesterday.
Yep. Baseball is going to have to be where the Phantom earns his keep for a little while until we have other items upon which to issue the Daily Dog. But hey, baseball's been good to the Phantom. It has.
Yeah, really. I mean, I'm not complaining. We'll take it. Barry, we're going. Get ready. Early today. 1:10 p.m. is the first pitch, and this game will be televised on the Major League Baseball Network.
On this, this will be from Milwaukee.
Yes.
The Brewers have been good to the Phantom lately, but which side will he take when the Brewers host the lowly Pittsburgh Pirates?
That's what I can't figure out. You got to help me with this pitching matchup. Because there again, hence Phantom's Daily Dog. The Brewers are a home dog, slight dog of just plus 105. I got a feeling by first pitch, this number might be different. I can see the Brewers as a favorite by the time the game starts, but I'm jumping on them now as a dog. Hence Phantom's Daily Dog. We're taking Milwaukee at home, 110 this afternoon at plus 105. What's up with the pitching matchup? I don't get it. So that is our winner for today. We're going with it. Jump on it. All right, our man C.J. Duncan from YellowhammerNews.com joining us here this morning. Really appreciate C.J. hopping on with us. I see him, he's there in the green room. Hey, C.J., good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. How you doing?
Man, we are doing great. Thank you so much for readjusting your schedule. We had kind of a scheduling thing this morning, and really appreciate you standing by with us here today, because A couple of things that we wanted to ask. I had a question that I've been thinking about for a couple of days now. Summer workouts, middle of June, it's hot. You know, allegedly the coaches aren't supposed to be out there or watching through the windows of their offices or whatnot during these workouts. Tell us, as a former SEC athlete, what were summer workouts like?
So, you know, I think what a lot of people are surprised to hear that you actually spend more time with your strength and conditioning coach than you do any other coach in the facility. That's why that hire is so important. Usually when coaches, you know, take a new job, you hear the strength coach probably either following him or that's one of their first hires, just because that particular guy is kind of creating a culture. He's setting the tone really early for freshmen and others that are coming through. But summer workouts are awful. There's no way around it. It's one of the worst, especially in this region of the country. It's hot. You're on turf the entire time, and really they're trying to weed guys out a little bit. They want to see who's going to be the guys that we can depend on during the season. So it's meant to be hard. It's meant to push your boundaries, but also to push you to get better. You know, as a high school guy, you haven't done half these workouts before, so naturally you're using muscles that you've never used before. And so you've got weights, you've got conditioning. Sometimes you're racing while you're doing conditioning. They're just finding you're even competing. I know we did tire pulls. We did a lot of things that incorporated competing as well. And then once you get done with all that, when you feel like, man, I can't move anymore, they're saying, okay, it's time to go run 7-on-7 or run routes with the quarterbacks. And, you know, you can kind of see your coaches watching from their offices while you're doing that. So it's not one of those things you can kind of halfway do. They're also monitoring it and making sure that guys are locked in.
So are there players on the field, kind of upperclassmen, maybe the starting quarterback or some other guys that are kind of running the show, if you will? We've heard stories about some of the players kind of take over and kind of doing the coaching, if you will.
Sure, yeah. So 9 times out of 10, it's the quarterback. The quarterback kind of gets everybody together, and he's been given a kind of a sheet to run through, right? Whether that's drills, whether that's plays or 7-on-7 route combinations that the OC would like us to kind of dial in on. The quarterback already has that available to him because the coaches are not on the field, but they're around though, right? You still have film probably later on that day or meetings or whatever it is. So he's given something that can kind of help direct and guide that particular day. And, you know, the quarterback gets everybody together, but he runs the offense, and then you kind of have either the head dog, the alpha on the defense kind of run the defense. And it just depends on who your team is, right? Sometimes the linebacker. I've also seen free safeties running the show. So it just depends on who the alpha is on your side of the ball.
Personal question here, CJ, but you've talked about this before when you were at Vanderbilt. Game 7 of the NBA Finals, first quarter, Tyrese Halliburton goes down with that Achilles tear.
Mm-hmm.
And they showed it over and over again. Given your history, how long did you last watching that before you said, I'm out?
I was pretty frustrated with, I guess the game was on ABC. They just kept replaying it over and over and over again.
Yes.
I was like, I think we get the idea. He's no longer going to be playing this series and probably not for most of next year. It would be a pretty significant recovery if he did. You know, it's tough. It really is. And when it's your turn, it's your turn. There's no really any way to prepare for that. You know, he had a calf strain, and I'm sure he probably has had hamstring issues before and lower back tightness. All those things are kind of connected, right? So when one is weak, you try to overcompensate with something else.
Yeah.
I'm sure if he, you know, in hindsight, he probably was like, well, you know what, halfway through the season, my back did start locking up a little bit more than usual, or, you know, I overreached one time, my hamstring was bothering me, but I probably didn't go to rehab like I should have. But, you know, usually when the Achilles tears, it's probably other things in your body that have been less than perfect, before that happens.
CJ, as a former SEC football player, what was the toughest thing for you during summer workouts?
Oh man, you know what? I always loved lifting. I felt like that was something I was just naturally good at, naturally strong guy. I played at 205 as a slot receiver, so I was a bigger guy. That was always easy. And as a receiver, you kind of train yourself to be able to run all day. But to me, I just never grew up loving to run, just run for no reason. And honestly, the conditioning aspect of it, and the timing in which they wanted us to run, I was like, in my head, I'm thinking logically, and in their head, they're trying to make us tough. So I'm like, we could have done this 2 hours ago when it was cool, and we would have been just fine, right? But conditioning, it doesn't matter how many times you do it, it is absolutely tough. And especially when they start incorporating competition within that, because now you're like, okay, I can't let this guy beat me. So there's no way to kind of measure your steps or to kind of pace yourself. It's full speed, and we used to pray about it. We used to pray that we make it through. And, there was guys that, you literally leaning on you, because if they don't, they're going to fall to the ground. But if you fall to the ground, we may have to start over, right? And then you've got the freshmen that jump off sides when we're doing conditioning tests and makes us start over. It gets really, really intense. You kind of see emotions flare up when you get tired.
What about the heat? Were there precautions? Just specifically about the heat. Have you seen guys, I don't know how to succumb to the heat, CJ?
Yeah. And I don't know that they necessarily care how hot it is. Maybe sometimes I think they prefer it to be hot, but especially when you're on turf. We have all turf. We didn't have any, we had one field that was natural grass, but we never used it. It was used during the season for like kind of scout team stuff or whatever. But when it came to conditioning and summer workouts, we were on the turf, which is naturally hotter than anywhere else that you would be. It'd be like being on pavement almost. And my freshman year, there were times where we would actually do conditioning. They would take us out of the stadium, and we had to run a couple miles down the road to a hill that they found in a neighborhood. And then we would do more conditioning and race up, and then we would do like hill sprints, and then, jog another 2 miles back. So they they find very creative ways to get the most out of us, for sure.
So the neighbors are going, well, there goes the Vanderbilt football team.
No, literally, I'm telling you, we're just like in a random like neighborhood somewhere, and there's a steep hill like this right here, but it's about 1.5 miles, 2 miles from the practice facilities, and we thought we were done, and they opened up the gate, and we were like, oh no, this can't be good. So and a lot of times you don't know what you're getting yourself into. They don't tell you beforehand, hey, this is the workout for the day. You just show up and you find a way to make it through it.
Which also has a corollary effect, because later on in the season, when it's the fourth quarter and everybody's dog tired and you've got this huge 3rd down and 7 you've got to get to keep the drive alive, keep your chances alive, you got to know who the guys are that are gonna wilt.
Oh yeah,
in that situation.
You've got to have soldiers out there, guys that are willing to just figure it out, and those are your foxhole guys, like you said, at 3rd and 7, and that's kind of where I made my money.
Right.
I was a 3rd down guy, move the chains, go across the middle. And although I didn't like it, I was raised by Clarence and Helena Duncan. There was no quit in me, so I didn't have a choice. Cause I can't call home and say, hey, they're messing with me. They're like, well, you should have figured it out. What did you do wrong? There wasn't no calling home for me. So
I love it. Oh man, love it. That's old school.
Awesome. Yep.
I got to think, CJ, as y'all were running toward that hill in that neighborhood, some of your coaches were barking into your ears, hey, I bet Tennessee's doing this too, and so is Georgia, and all these other teams we're going to be playing. So I don't want to hear anybody out here lollygagging, because when we go beat them, you're going to remember this day.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's on your mind. It's in the back of your mind, 365, really. And especially the Tennessee game, we call it the state championship, and it was just unacceptable to lose to them. You know, especially during that time, I had Franklin and Coach Mason, and so we ended with a 3-1 record. But a lot of times, that was kind of the far out goal. Of course, you want to have goals each and every day as to how you get better, but we understood the assignment, and the assignment was to win those rivalry games and win as many SEC games as you can. Because not only does that help that current year, that kind of keeps your team together, keeps your coach there, but also it helps with recruiting. And Franklin was the master recruiter, so he used any win that we got as ammo for the next class that came in.
See, you know, we're talking about that and how, you know, you're laying the groundwork for those tough games and those tough situations by being tough and pushing through in the summer. I've asked you this before. It's been a couple of months. Those types of things, that type of mental toughness, find a way, you know, gut your way through it. That's applicable in post football for you as well in your career.
Absolutely. You know, I think the biggest thing I learned was, listen, nobody cares. You don't have time to, you know, feel sorry for yourself. You know, at the end of the day, nothing's going to be given to you. But, you know, if you're intentional and you work hard and you continue to show up, good things will start to come to you. You know what I mean? And you got to be a decent person while you're doing it. And when you're in football, you know, got to be a good teammate. Nobody cares that you're tired, you know, and you work hard. And when you work hard, 9 times out of 10, when the season comes around, you look up and you got, you know, 100 yards versus Tennessee. So that's just kind of how football works, but also life works. And, you know, I think even if you do not play at the highest level, it is very important, I think, for young kids to play sports at some point in their life, because there's so many life lessons that they'll continue to pull back from, especially when they're an adult.
I think you would agree, CJ. There are things on a practice field you cannot learn in a classroom.
No way. No way. You know, and you know, I was fortunate. My dad used to tell me all the times, I can't come save you once you cross those white lines, you know, and so a teacher never tell you that, but you will learn that on the football field. And you know, and honestly, you just understand what camaraderie is too. And that those lifelong friendships, what that means, what that means to be a decent person, and also just learn that people come from different demographics and different races, and you understand how to listen to people, understand where they're coming from. Even if you don't agree, you still love your brother and you keep it moving, because y'all are all headed toward the same goal, right? And so I think there's a lot of good that comes out of sports, and I wish more people played it, you know, so.
This is great stuff. CJ, as always, we do appreciate the time. It's uplifting and informative, and we're getting a lot of great response. Thanks for checking in with us.
Yeah, thanks for adjusting your schedule as well, my man. Thank you.
No worries at all. It's always a pleasure, fellas. I can look forward to it next week.
Take care.
Look forward to it as well. Thank you, buddy. CJ Duncan, YellowhammerNews.com. Great interview as always. Enjoy having CJ on. So we're going to take our next break. And, man, our next guest got a tough act to follow here, but I know he's up to the challenge.
Yep, we are looking forward to that. It's our Moneyline magician, Josh Harris. He's next. Longshore and McKnight, in association with Yellowhammer News, presented by Bud Light. Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry, Pepper Tree Center next to Chappie's Deli in Montgomery, Alabama. Marianne is with us from Marguerite's. Marianne, here we are in the middle of summer. I know a lot of people like to spend summertime kind of cleaning things out and getting things out of their house. Marguerite's is a perfect place for those people who want to sell their jewelry or at least, you know, maybe their silver or their platinum or something like that. You guys can take care of that at Marguerite's. Am I right?
Most definitely. You can get a little extra vacation cash or just a little fun money to go along, because the cost of gold is up now, like record highs. So take advantage of that. Come into Marguerite's, and if you're not sure if it is gold, platinum, or silver or not, just come in. We are happy to look at it. There's no charge. There's no obligation. Just bring in your precious metals, and we can tell you, we test it and let you know. We weigh it. We give you an amount. So, I mean, again, like broken chains or random like cluster ring that you're not the biggest fan of, just bring it in. We'll take it and give you a value. And we give you times and a half if you decide to use it as in-store credit. So if you find something pretty while we're weighing or testing your jewelry, then guess what? You've got way more going towards it than you had before.
I can imagine that some people kind of put that type of thing off or are a little bit intimidated because they don't really know what to do. They don't have a friend in the jewelry business. And I've always said at Marguerite, you always have a friend in the jewelry business. The process is painless, and you're ensured that you're going to get the top dollar for the value of your piece, right?
Most definitely. We update our market and metal values daily. We will weigh it 100% honest. There's no appointment needed. That's a question that I get asked a lot too. So you don't have to call ahead. You don't have to make an appointment. We're open 7 days a week in Pepper Tree. You just have to come through the door, and there'll always be somebody with a smile to help you sort your jewelry and get the amount that you're due.
Yeah, it's going to be so much fun later on, that when you've gone through that process and you smile at yourself when you're at the beach or you're on vacation somewhere with that extra cash and say, boy, I'm glad I left that up to the professionals at Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry. What's their first step, Marianne? Just walk through?
Exactly. Just walk through the door. Bring your stuff. Again, if you're not sure if it's costume, no worries. We'll take it from there.
Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry. You've got a friend in the jewelry business. Pepper Tree Center next to Chappie's Deli on Vaughn Road in Montgomery, Alabama. Marianne, always a pleasure. Thanks for the time.
Thanks.
All right, welcome back in. About 24 minutes to the top of the hour. We bring in our friend Josh Harris, the Moneyline Magician, joining us here on Wednesday. Really appreciate him rescheduling for us here. And Josh, hope you're doing well. How are you, my man?
Doing great. Monday mornings, I'm just running around too much. I keep missing y'all, and it's just really not fair to the audience that they don't get to hear my voice.
I know. Yeah, it's a letdown for sure.
Look at him, Barry. Look at the shirt he's got on. Yeah, here we go. Knew it was coming. Yeah.
Changed my mind.
Yeah. He's back on board. Somebody had already asked on our chat line, Josh, can the Braves just schedule the Mets the whole season? Can they? How's it happen? They beat the snot out of the Mets, and then they go to Miami and lose to the Marlins. What?
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense, but I think that's why following the Braves from afar is a healthy relationship. You can jump back in when you need to. Just be a little fair weather fan, jumping back in, pull it back out.
I've noticed that. I've noticed that just this year. Not just you, Josh, but other people are kind of jumping in, jumping out. What really disturbs me, though, I'm already hearing or seeing people throwing the towel in. We're not even to the All-Star break yet. I always tell, just wait till the All-Star break before you start panicking.
I think last week I did halfway throw in the towel when Barry asked me if I was going to take back my bet.
See,
I said I was still sticking to the bet, but I was not feeling good about it. Feeling better this week, though. Feeling better this week. Maybe I'll double down, get better odds, see what happens.
I feel like the Joe Pesci character in Goodfellas with Ray Liotta. I almost had him. I was this close. I almost had him. Yeah, but now Josh stuck with it here. If you want to talk about, fair weather fans, you can jump back out, jump back in, jumping off the Braves bandwagon too early. John, I've been around Bama fans for a long time now.
Yeah.
And if there's not a chance to play for a natty, I mean, Josh, if the Crimson Tide goes to Tallahassee August the 30th and lays an egg against Florida State, there's going to be a much lighter bandwagon because people will be jumping off even then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Alabama has more bandwagon fans than any, they're like the Yankees, right? They of college football. They just got a million bandwagon fans everywhere you go. So yeah, there'll be bandwagon fans, but that's good. Then you just got the true guys that fought through the Shula days and the Mike Price days and the guys that can link arms, and we remember how those days were. But that's not going to happen. We had no recruits. We had no, like I've said this before, we had no players leave, which is to me one of the no one entered the transfer portal, which is one of the we'll see how that proves to be as the future of the NIL plays out and what's so on, and that could be gigantic. And now you've got Castellanos running his yapper. I mean, what an idiot. I mean,
Don't do that.
What an idiot. Like, just have you not learned from maybe they win. I'm not saying they can't win now, but that certainly doesn't help.
To catch people up, this is what I love. Thomas Castellanos was the quarterback last year for Boston College. He had been with Malzahn before at UCF, and now Malzahn's at Florida State. Last year at Boston College, they went to Tallahassee and beat Florida State early, and it was a big deal until everybody realized how awful Florida State was. So now he transfers to Florida State, and he said in a tweet or in an interview with On3, he mentions that, I basically ran the ACC, and I didn't have a squad around me at Boston College. And now I got a squad with me. Nick Saban's not going to come in and save them. I don't see how they're going to stop me. And then you got a couple of Boston College guys who are saying, ran the ACC? I don't remember it that way. Really? The Boston College guys, there's no sense in doing this, Josh.
It's not. It is perfect. I wouldn't have it any other way. Please keep talking. It's just like, what are they thinking? But
Josh, does the Gus Malzahn factor concern you any?
Yeah, a little bit.
We did talk.
Just because Gus Malzahn is just a menace to society. He's going to figure it out. He's just a little weasel. He's going to figure out. He is a little scary.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
So CJ Duncan, I remember. I was at Montgomery Academy when he was at St. James, and remember playing them our senior year. I was a senior, he was a freshman, being like, this guy, like their best player is a freshman. Like, okay, their best player was a freshman. And my big butt running around the field wasn't going to even get close to him on the offensive line. On the defensive line, excuse me. He was insane. So that was that. I saw him. I was like, yeah, I'm glad he doesn't remember me, but I remember him.
See, and the thing that kind of adds to it, how frustrating it is it when you have a guy, and believe me, CJ Duncan was legendary in Montgomery High School athletics circles, not just football. But you see this all the time in college, and it's frustrating. A guy like Tebow, guys like CJ, who, you get your butt kicked by him in high school, left and right. Nobody can stop him. Great basketball, great baseball, and all that kind of stuff. It's bound to be frustrating as well because he's such a terrific guy. Right. And could he be a jerk, please?
Right.
Could he be homely?
Right.
Could he have bad breath or something?
Right. If I was really good at sports, people would hate me. It's just like, I was saying that. It's funny you say that. I was saying that the other day. My boss is 6'4", was the captain of the Baylor football team in 2003. DN, big guy. I was talking to my wife the other day, and I was like, think about how cocky I would be if I was a captain of a football team in college. Like, it would be so bad.
And your wife's like, yeah, right?
Yeah. I like you how you are. Captain of the NA football team for half a game. Good job,
buddy. Josh, you mentioned Mike Shula. I don't know if I've asked you this question or not before. I think I'm the only one out there, but you lay it all on the table. The situation that Mike Shula stepped into was hired in the month of May. You don't hire coaches in the month of May. came back, mama calling, so to speak. We get it. First time he was ever a coach, did have a 10-win season. But I've always felt there needs to be a little recognition to Mike. Show him a little love. I mean, I think he took over during an extremely difficult time, kind of steadied the ship a little bit. I know nobody likes getting fired. I get it. But should we have at least, maybe the first time out of the first quarter? Ladies and gentlemen, at the north end zone, let's give a big hand to former Alabama head coach Mike Shula.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the guy did a stand-up job. He came into just a disastrous situation. He came, he did a great, and he got scrutinized the whole entire time. And he did a great job. I mean, he's a great guy. He was a great quarterback for Alabama. It's tradition. It's what we've kind of, we don't have this. We still have tradition at Alabama. You got a bunch of new fans that don't know what's going on, don't know the history of Alabama football. Mike Shula is a guy that is a Bama guy. He came in and he did a fine job. He did what he could do. It's not like he's gone somewhere else and been the greatest coach of all time. He's done great. He's had a great career, but he did good with a awful situation. And it honestly probably hurt his career long-term to take.
Well, yeah. And any quarterback that can throw a block on a key fourth down play or a reverse that Al Bell picks up the first down. I mean, come on.
What are you going to do?
See, Josh, it all depends on the presentation. Do you have him out there, walking out from the zone, linked arm in arm with Charlie Harbison and Dave Rader and those guys on that coaching staff, or do you have him out there, arm around the shoulder of Al Bell and
Greg Richardson?
That's right. Run out of bounds, Greg.
You just get him. You get DeBose, Shula, Franchione, and Mike Price to walk out. And then that'll show you how much you appreciate Mike Shula.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
A little contrast.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't give this guy so much crud. Look at these other three.
Right. Yeah, stop lumping him in with those guys.
I'm gonna get with Greg Byrne on that. We need to get that going. Mike Shula needs a little love.
I am impressed that Josh immediately stood up and was counted among the pro Mike Shula Day crowd.
Of course.
I'm not talking about the Tennessee game or the Iron Bowl or something. I'm talking about ULM or Western Kentucky.
Beat them? I know Western Michigan beat him when he had Brody Kroll still.
Western Carolina.
Western Carolina.
They didn't beat him. No, they didn't beat him. That was where he blew his knee out.
Oh, yeah. Blew his knee out that game.
It was those were the days though. I mean, it was awful, but that was what I grew up to.
Well, see, but you had to be locked in then. You couldn't be like when Saban had it rolling and the only suspense was how badly you'd beat them by, would you cover. Back then, I mean, you had Mississippi State coming in, and my guy Josh Harris was locked in saying, guys, this is going to be tough. That was
Josh, how tough was it when you saw Montgomery's own Michael Henning of Mississippi State beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa when Mike Shula was still coaching?
Pretty bad. But I saw Anthony McCall.
Yes.
His son played for ULM when they beat Alabama.
He was a tight end.
He was great in high school. He was great. So I'm not talking anything bad about Anthony, but I was like, he was on the team with me and he beat him. And, it was tough. But seeing people from private schools in Montgomery shouldn't be beating the Crimson Tide. Maybe St. James Montgomery Academy throws one out every once in a while.
Yeah.
Trinity, they've had some good folks, but not anyone that I was friends with.
Yeah, I hear you.
Awesome
John, great stuff. We could go on all day. We appreciate your time. Love the new time slot Wednesdays at the bottom of hour number 2. Looking forward to catching up with you throughout the remainder of the summer. And, man, football season is fast approaching, so we're certainly looking forward to that.
Looking forward to it.
Appreciate it. Thank you,
buddy. Appreciate that. The Moneyline magician, Josh Harris, joining us here today. Barry, we've been busy. Brent Vincent with Phoenix Rehab, CJ Duncan, Yellowhammer News, Josh Harris, the Moneyline magician. When we get back, Gurn Jr.'s Victoryland 777 Topic Wheel here on Longshore McKnight in association with our good friends at Yellowhammer News.
Presented by Bud Light.
Local banking expertise, the newest innovations and technology, personal attention, genuine hospitality. It's all just part of the Riverbank and Trust difference. They invite you to experience it for yourself. Welcome to banking above and beyond at Riverbank and Trust. Locations throughout the River region, locations throughout the state of Alabama. Riverbank and Trust.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
All right, back at it, man. We got to go because that wheel is loaded up with topics today. The Gurn Jr. Victoryland 777 Topic Wheel. We do not know what these topics are. We're seeing them for the first time just like you are. So when the wheel stops spinning and we get to see what the topic is about, we're finding out it for just the first time just as you are.
Yep, there you go. All right, brought to you by Victoryland 777 Casino, exits 22 off I-85 in Shorter, Alabama, and curated by our producer, Gurn Jr. Here we go. Demoted slash promoted. This may be English Premiership. We'll see.
Oh, Live Golf.
I didn't see this. What's this about? I see Phil.
Yeah. I didn't see this either.
James Payor, Piot, U.S. Amateur Champion, Michigan State, PGA Tour, wasn't much. Then he said, hey, how about the Live Tour? Finished 36th in the individual standings on the Live. But then he got cut from the Live.
What? How do you get cut from the Live Tour?
I don't know. The PGA Tour event, the Rocket Classic, they gave him. He's the first ex-Live player to make his way to the PGA Tour by special invite.
Okay.
Huh.
Maybe that could be a something we'll see more of in the future. Doesn't work out on the Live Tour. PGA Tour says, come over here. You can make a living here. Just win some events.
Yeah, at least that sets the precedent. I like that. Yeah,
that is good. I did not see that. That's a good one there.
That's a good one. Yes.
Something today. All right, Gary, let's spin again. Victoryland 777 Topic Wheel, brought to you by our friends at Victoryland, where you can be a winner too. What's coming up next? A lot of topics today, and it is
Mr. Stapps. Yeah, this is big. This is big. One of John's favorite players, Kristaps Porzingis, who's about 7'5". He's been moved around a little bit, played for the Celtics.
Well, Barry, look at his number. I mean, the guy wears a great number, first of all.
Number 8, yep.
Yeah.
Kristaps Porzingis to the Hawks as part of a trade. The Hawks get Porzingis in a second-rounder. Nets get Terrence Mound in a first-rounder. And the Celtics get George Niang in a second-round pick. What that means is that the Hawks, I think they improved. I think they were at like 60-1 in the early futures to win the NBA title next year. Now with Porzingis in, they're 50-1. The Hawks are there's going to be a pretty sturdy lineup. Porzingis, like I said, he's 7'5". He's not a center. He plays out on the court most of the time. But he's hurt all the time. So we'll see. We'll see. That's a big one for the Hawks.
How does an NBA official call a foul on a guy wearing number 8?
That's the reason when people ask it. That's the reason why for so many years, particularly in college, you never had a number, either the first digit or the second digit, over number 5.
Yeah.
You had 23 or 44 or, or 3, but you never had like 67.
Nope.
And that's the reason why when the referee goes and he says, fouls on number 31 or fouls on number 35. Well, is that foul on number 35 or is that foul on number 8? Because Porzingis is number 8. That's the only reason why.
Yeah, I can see that.
More easily signal to the bench who the foul's on. And of course, John made that point moot because when he got called for a foul back in the church league where you didn't have the number on the front, John would never turn around.
Just walk backwards. Yeah.
Fouls curly headed guy. Yeah, arc-headed guy.
I said, look, if you're going to call a foul on me, you got to figure out the number. I ain't turning
I'm
around.
not making it easy on you. That's for sure.
No.
Okay, here we go.
Let's spin it again here on the Victoryland 777 Topic Wheel, open 24/7, 365 in Shorter, Alabama. Finale. Let's see what we got here in the finale.
Oh, yeah, this is it for Rodgers. He was on yesterday. I was watching it at lunch. He was on yesterday on the Pat McAfee show.
Yep.
And 1-year deal. He said Rodgers says this, and this was really about finishing with a lot of love and a lot of fun and
come on.
the right way. And the $30 million. But, he wants to serve as a mentor to the other quarterbacks, the kid from Ohio State, Will Howard and those guys and all that. The thing that's funny about it, and I mean, this is a national ESPN show. It's very highly rated. You got a future Hall of Fame quarterback. And I'm watching it. I'm at a sports bar eating lunch with my wife, and McAfee's wearing a tank top. And Aaron Rodgers is sitting there. He's just got, this in his ears. I've only got these in my ears because I'm scrambling around trying to get on. And he's just on his phone in front of this wall at his house or whatever. And I'm thinking, can you spend a little time, get a decent backdrop, maybe a camera or something like that? And McAfee, I know it's your shtick and everything, but how about something with sleeves now and again?
I don't get it.
Taking him seriously,
I don't get him on game day. I don't get him in the afternoon just while I watch cow herd, I guess.
Yeah.
I just get McAfee.
Yeah, seems to take it more seriously, Cowherd. Okay, here we go.
All right, 3 more to go. Let's get them in before the top of the hour. The next topic on the Victoryland 777 Topic Wheel is massive sale.
At Penny's. No, the NBA, the Timberwolves have been sold. And the Minnesota Lynx.
Well, who was
How
that?
about that? Show the picture. First of all, show the picture again. Those are, by gosh, owners. I mean, you got A-Rod, who's a part of it. Yeah. You see him in the middle. The other guys, look at that picture. I'll give you 2 seconds to pick the athlete out.
Yeah, I can see the athlete. I'm trying to figure out who that guy's in the all white, and then the guy at the very end that really not sure if he looks like he knows where he is.
Yeah, that's true. $1.5 billion sale of the Timberwolves. Glenn Taylor, who'd been with to an investment group. A-Rod is in that group. The deal will be reached, and A-Rod will now be an NBA owner, or at least partially. He's just a member of the ownership group. That's all it is. He's a part of the investment group on that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic. A-Rod. I think I had a brush with greatness with him. He was in the game.
I had a brush with greatness with A-Rod in Minneapolis.
Oh, wow.
Troy was playing Minnesota in football. That was when they played at the Metrodome. And the night before the game, I'm going up in our hotel in downtown Minneapolis. Rangers were playing that night. He played for the Rangers at the time. And door opened on like the 5th floor where I was getting on, and there was A-Rod.
Is he from Minnesota?
No, he's from Miami.
was wondering what the connection with the T-Wolves might be. Just a good investment.
I don't know. I mean, I know he was in Minneapolis that time because the Rangers were playing. But why the Timberwolves? I'm with you on that. It ain't like they're exactly lighting up the NBA's consciousness with their amazing franchise or anything. It's interesting.
All right. 2 more to go. Let's try to squeeze them in at the top of the hour. Blue and green, and it's going to land on collusion. What could this be about?
The National Football League Players Association and the NFL, they're trying to hide a ruling in the collusion case to try to let's scroll down just a little bit. The Deshaun Watson fully guaranteed contract, colluding to hold down salaries.
Sounds like some backroom dealings they don't want the public to know about.
Yep. There you go. Okay, we'll find out more about that coming up.
I don't like the sound of that. The collusion is just a word doesn't sound good.
No.
All right, last topic. Let's spin it to make it official.
Big extension.
What could this be about? Big extension. Hope it's a contract extension.
Kyrie Irving. He had the ACL, and they could have cut him. Well, they couldn't have cut him loose, but they could have. They could have said they're not interested in extending his contract, but they did extend it. 3 years, $119 million. He was due to pay out $42.9 million if he was going to exercise his player option. He declined to do that, and he has extended his contract with the Mavericks, which is certainly good for the Mavericks and certainly good for him. It's good for the Mavericks because now that frees up some cap space for them to go out and, re-sign Anthony Davis and some of that. So that's one of those where it was a good deal for both parties involved.
I would say it was a good deal, no doubt. Hey, tomorrow we're at the Montgomery Regional Airport, getting better the more you use it, broadcasting the program. Looking forward to being out there. If you're out flying tomorrow, come by and say hello before your departure. Also, our man Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover, Rodney Orr, the Tider Insider, will join us tomorrow as well.
Yep. Appreciation goes out to our buddy Brent Vinson, Phoenix Physical Therapy, CJ Duncan, Yellowhammer News, and our Moneyline magician, Josh Harris, plus our producer, Gurn Jr. He's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. Longshore and McKnight in association with Yellowhammer News, presented by Bud Light.